Can't you see that you're lost without me? I can feel the thunder that's breaking in your heart. I can see through the stars inside you.
Hi, Baldy Jack here. Today's video is on the NECA Ultimate Friday the 13th Part 2 Jason Voorhees figure. Well, looks like the body count did continue. Obviously. This is kind of a new figure to some degree from the past Colts Classics Part 2 Jason, but surprisingly there is some new stuff, that being the accessories. So first off, before we look at him, of course, we'll look at the box that actually, surprisingly enough, it features the original poster art with the grown-up Jason, you know, attacking some random chick in the canoe. Pretty much, you know, emulating the ending to the first film, but then they kind of said that this would be too revealing that Jason's the killer, but it's kind of like, who else would the killer be, you know? Part 2, that does not look like the figure. And on the back, you have a little read-up, Mrs. Voorhees is dead, and Camp Crystal Lake is shut down. But a camp next to the infamous place is stalked by an unknown assailant. You have a picture from the film with the altar thing that Jason built for his mother. You have some pictures here and there of the figure. If you can't really get that one. Yeah, there you go. And then you open it up, of course, you would have the window box. You have a picture of the figure. That is the box. Now let's look at most of his accessories. One of the new things, compared to the Colts Classics figure, is the addition of a little campfire set. Kind of translucent plastic for the fire, so you can, you know, decide whether you want to display this just as is, or with the flames. The flames is quite nice. I was tooling around with it for a while to try and figure out how the hell it fits in, because I was like putting it off to the side and stuff, so it fits in nice and snug. You just have to get it quite right with the bundle of sticks. Pamela Voorhees' head. Surprisingly enough, I don't know if this is the same from the original figure or the 25th anniversary set. I have no idea, but it definitely is not the same thing that the NES figure has, that is for sure. This is a lot smaller. Jason's alternate head, and this head I believe is the same, and it looks quite nice. It's not bad at all. You know, got the hair in the right place, so, you know, the bald spot there. I think it looks pretty good. And then we'll dive into his weapons. We have a kitchen knife. I know I remember him using this, of course. It was kind of like his thumb, you know, looked like he got it stuck on a door or some shit. But yeah, there you have the kitchen knife. Then you have his infamous pickaxe that he never really used on anyone, but Jenny. Or Jenny, is it Jenny or Jenny? I'm getting confused with the game, of course, with, you know, pronunciation of that name. It's Jenny, not Jenny. Then we have the spear that kills Jeff and Sandra that Jason impaled them to while they were doing it upstairs. So this is quite, actually, I think, in scale. But speaking of being in scale, but this is not in scale, and that is the Pitchfork. This looks kind of on the small end. I don't know what it is. It looks kind of weird. I'll put it in Jason in just a second. And then here we have the Potato Jason, as we know. Tater Sack Jason, before he became famous. Before they were famous. You have this intricate looking machete, where the blade is kind of the opposite end. Overall, the only problem with it, I feel, is that it won't sell well. And what I mean by that is, if you looked at the NECA Retro Part 2 Jason, he did not sell well at all. Because I think with Part 2 in it being Jason, that it's not the hockey mask Jason that, you know, people know. So I just don't, it's kind of weird that Part 2 is not really the selling type of Jason, really. So his articulation is exactly the same as the others. That makes it ultimate. You can have him sitting down if you want, I don't know. I believe it's single joint in the knee. You know, it's the same cliche articulation as the other figures, which is fine. He does not have... Oh, he actually does have a waist articulation, but is hindered by the overalls. One thing that is really odd, that kind of throws me off with this particular version of Part 2 as a figure or anything else, is that his overalls are kind of low on him. They should be a little bit higher up to at least where his sack begins. I don't know why it kind of hangs low, but it's all right. I mean, to be honest, I think that even the scale and like the build he is really representation of how Steve Dash was in the film, because he was just a guy. He wasn't this big buff Jason that, you know, later became his Part 3 and, you know, Kane Hodder, of course, you know, with Part 7 and whatever, and after that. So I'll remove this machete from his hand. It looks quite interesting, actually. I kind of like this. I may display him with it, although most Jasons are displayed with machetes nowadays. There you have him with the spear. Okay, don't topple over now. Camera, of course. So there he is with the spear. It looks quite nice. It is kind of on the large end, but I think that's fine. It may be a little bit, but it works. The kitchen knife is kind of like the least optional thing you want with a Jason, but for some reason I've done that with my Part 4 figure. So I'll put the pitchfork in his hand and see how that stacks up. I don't know how you would thread it through the other end if you wanted to hold him, like, have him hold it like that. I mean, you could. I think you would just have to pry the fingers and, you know, you can have him hold it perfectly fine. It is on the small end a little bit, but, you know, I can't complain too much. I mean, fuck, his hand fell out. Okay. All in all, I am pretty happy with how this figure is. You know, actually, I moved his head. It looks quite alright. His neck is kind of really showing. I mean, it's coming out on camera pretty well, for the most part. Let me see if I can find Part 3. So here he is stacking up next to Part 3. This is the Ultimate one, actually, not the original, but anyway. Why I'm bringing him out? Obviously, because he's the continuation to what we know about Jason, but he kind of seems taller. This is... Okay, that is very interesting. The Part 2's coming out a bit taller than the 3. Maybe it's the head? Yeah, that is very interesting how the Part 2 is taller than 3. I mean, it's just a little. I mean, on camera it looks like a lot, but it's like about a speck of an inch. It's not the... I mean, I don't know. That is interesting how he is a bit taller. I would expect it to be around the same size or maybe a bit shorter. With Part 3, the very beginning when Jason's walking by the sheets, you see him for a split second wearing the coveralls with his, you know, shaved head. So let me see if this actually works. Not that I would display him like that. I want to see if it works. Okay, that actually surprisingly does work. Alright, so here you have the beginning of Part 3 of the head. Oh my gosh, the neck is kind of small, so with the head being attached, it does look kind of weird from behind, but it actually kind of works. This looks really weird. I guess that will wrap up this review. I recommend this figure, as most Jason figures I do recommend, but this one's actually quite nice. It's different from a change of your typical hockey mask Jason, so there you go. If he didn't change the coveralls and just had the hockey mask, there you go. But first, I have to have those photo shots, and that'll wrap up this review. Thanks for watching.